I think entrepreneurship, one of the biggest challenges of being an entrepreneur is staying, out of that mold, because in and out, you are everywhere. You have multiple roles. You are the salesperson. You are the CEO and the CTO. You're everything rolled into one. So of course, I think there tends to be a situation, where you may hit the wall and you really don't know what's the next way out. So these are real practical challenges, and we have a great panel. I want to start, since we have some 30 minutes left. I want to start with you first, Akshay. Uh, in businesses, like you have built businesses of scale. Uh, the one you are in, of course, has disrupted the space in a very big way. Is there something really that is challenging for an entrepreneur day in and day out? What are the ways in which you stay innovative in such situations?
Oh, absolutely. And again, thank you so much for inviting me here today. We're really proud of what we've accomplished so far at Shiprocket. It's been a tough journey, but I think the hardest challenge that we face every day as entrepreneurs is breaking the mold that we have created for ourselves. When you're starting out, it's very easy because you are the disruptor. You are the person who's coming to change the way business is done. So for us, for example, 6 years ago when we started, what we wanted to do was make logistics accessible and affordable for every SME in the country. It was a very simple vision with a very complicated execution. And we knew the mold that we were breaking. And 6 years out, Shiprocket itself is a mold by itself, because as a market leader in the industry now, it's important that we disrupt ourselves because we are setting the new status quo. And I think that's the hardest part, because you know what? You get used to the stability. You like the fact that it's not a struggle every day anymore. And I think embracing the struggle and embracing the fact that the new status quo is temporary and it's not going to last forever, because if you don't disrupt yourself, someone else will. And I think that's the biggest challenge that we face. And we as entrepreneurs and founders at Shiprocket, the way we keep ourselves really true to our core philosophy is every day just asking ourselves what we are building, what we've created, is it adding value to the people that we work with, whether it's our employees, whether it's our customers, or whether it's our investors. And the customers being the most important part of it. And I think about 2 years ago, what we realized is that the value that we had created over the last 6 years, a lot of it was becoming commoditized, right? It was becoming the new status quo. And Shiprocket, then we reinvented what we called Shiprocket 2.0. It's a vision that we embraced about 2 years ago. And what we've been doing is now getting into more value-added products. So now it was not just about allowing sellers to ship online cheaply, affordably, and obviously giving them access. It was more about how do we enable them to be successful online. Because if an entrepreneur is successful online, they will have more business. Automatically, I will get a portion of this business. So I'll capture that value. And that's where we've gotten into different things. For example, like fulfillment, 1 day, 2 day delivery, which we call Shiprocket Rush. We've launched tech products in different geographies. We just launched our office in Riyadh. So I think it's about pushing yourself and getting yourself out of that comfort zone every day. And sometimes it's hard for an entrepreneur because after so many years of struggle, when you finally get stability, sometimes you like that stability. And then to push yourself out of that comfort zone again, I think that's the biggest challenge that you face.
Gaurav, though Pixis is relatively, recent, phenomena, and they're doing great work. In your view, what drives innovation at a startup?
Great. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, and it feels privileged to be in the middle of such a distinguished panel. So, telling a little bit about Pixis. Pixis obviously has a very relatively new story. It was co-founded by entrepreneurs who are under the age of 30, and I was lucky enough to actually see it at the cutting edge, being one of the first employees, helping them set up the product. At Pixis, we decided that we're going to challenge the status quo in the advertising world, which was how do we help out the digital first, mobile first businesses in today's day and age? How do we help them acquire users, help them scale up their businesses, help them get a much better ROI when they're trying to run these campaigns that they generally do on the digital medium? And how do we do it in a way which is a lot more transparent, which was the need of the hour? How do we do it in a way that is more automated and it's not just kind of run in the same status quo as it has been for the past many decades, where you have a lot of the entrenched entities kind of running the show. And when we sort of started with that vision, I mean, if you, I know because I've been part of this industry for almost a decade, was that it could be intimidating to know that could you actually even make a product? And on top of that, the way we wanted to layer that in was actually use a cutting edge artificial and machine learning systems to make it happen. Now that's a very, very tough task, and I can tell you that for whatever it's worth, that many companies have tried this in the past. I've actually basically given it up and tried to pretty much resort to the manual route because it's a lot easier and the money is a lot easier to be made that way. But we decided we're going to take we're just going to take the high road and see if we can take up the challenge. So it's been over 2 years since we've been sort of building this product up, and I can tell you from where we started to where we are right now, we have made waves because it's been acknowledged in the industry what we've been able to do. It's been acknowledged the fact that the outcomes that we've been able to deliver to many of our advertisers who are quite well known in the industry, it's well acknowledged that we were able to do justice to them. And although we're just starting as far as scratching the surface, I think we have realized that there's still many holes and inefficiency in the systems, and a Pixis tool, which is purely being driven by AI and machine learning, can really start helping solve those problems. So yeah, I mean, the work has just started for us.
We have Akshay and Akhil also joining us online. Akshay, your thoughts on breaking the mold and staying innovative. What drives innovation at your organization and at startups at large?
So if you see that way, so No Broker, I'm sure most of you would know, has changed the way real estate works, not only in India, across the globe. So typically in real estate, for a transaction, you need an intermediary, which is a physical person called broker. And we have brought it online. We have used technology and without putting people onto the ground. So that itself is like changing the way the traditional business has worked. So that bringing technology to break the mold. And how does it happen inside the organization? It's mainly, we focus on three aspects. The thing what we are building, is it adding value to our customer? Can I have a customer delight? Can I have a superior customer experience? And customer experience already exists even when they have been working with broker, or the way they have been finding, buying, selling the houses. How can I make that particular experience better than what I'm providing? The things which we are building, is it able to get revenue for the company? Can I make money out of that particular thing? Obviously, when we do that, how can we have a win-win situation where we make the money, but we are not pinching it out of our customer's pocket also? Like if you see in real estate, typically broker charges 1 month of brokerage for a 11-month contract, which is around 18% on rental deal and around 4% on buy sales. How do we do that? And third, because it's a technology and because we don't want to have people on the ground, how much of automation we can bring? So basically, how much of the ML, AI, or other technologies we use with which we can automate the thing so that we don't need workforce, we don't need human, because human tend to make mistakes. Machines work without any biases. Machine works in the most democratic way in which they have been taught. So these are the three things. These are the three phenomena, or I'll say three values on which we bring up the innovation within the company to break the mold.
Okay, Suyash, Purple story is well known. The success is, everyone knows about it. How do you inculcate that culture of disruption at Purple and stay that way?
Right. I think first and foremost, it is about mindset, right? You need to have a mindset of, always questioning the norm, right? We are in the space of democratizing beauty products for a larger mass of India, right? And we do exceptionally well in tier 2 and tier 3 townships. Few years ago, great products like, say, avocado shampoo or rosehip serum and all of these kind of products were not accessible for a large part of, India, the Bharat, as people say, right? But we had to question the norm, right? How can we make sure that we drive education into our customers? We drive the adoption of these kind of products and we make it accessible for them, right? And this takes, a lot of mindset. that you need to inculcate. And that is, I would say, the first ingredient. The second is your ability to imagine, right? You have to always do first principles thinking and question the constraints. Like, for example, I remember the discussion back in 2013 that we used to have, and we figured out that one of the barriers of trial for a category like a lipstick was the inability for people to be able to try those lipsticks, right? And we have been constantly at it from that point of time. The technology, of course, is much evolved with the AI and AR-led solutions which are available, even as form of SDKs in the app. But from that time, we have been always constantly trying that. How do you make sure that you are able to give that trial to the customer at a very very seamless manner? And today, now we are one of the biggest players of virtual lipstick trials over live video, right? So that is another way in which you have disrupted, and made sure that there is customer value which is created as well, right? And at the end of it, right, I think what you need to strive for as an organization is, how do you marry business value with customer value, right, when you are evaluating these disruptive ideas? Because in most cases, right, these disruptions will either create great customer experiences and you will need to figure out a way to create business value, or it will be great for the business where the costs have come down and you need to make sure that for people to adopt it, you need to create enough customer value so that you get a win-win. So I think three main ingredients. One is, the mindset, like also Akshay mentioned that, if you're not the disruptor, somebody else will disrupt. So the mindset of always questioning the norm. The second is doing first principles thinking, questioning the constraint that why can't it be done, and finding out ways of doing it. And third is always trying to marry customer value with business value. So if these are the three ingredients, I think if these go top down from the leadership, I think the organization will be better suited to create disruptions.
Thanks. Akshay, there's another thing. If you look at startups, I mean, some of them have become cash burning machines, and they have got caught up in a different scenario. It's no longer the impact, it's the valuation. Tell me what happens, the mindset of, he was talking about the mindset of the man who is in charge, how do you maintain it does not get swayed by the success that you have, and you don't get trapped into that valuation game, and the customer centricity and the impact remains on top?
No, absolutely. And I think, we talk a lot about valuation because it's fun for everyone to talk about valuations, but valuations at the end of the day are just numbers, right? It's a multiple that you get on certain business metrics, whether it's your revenue, whether it's your EBITDA, whether it's your margin. And at the end of the day, it's something that should be looked at very unemotionally. And I think a lot of the good founders don't actually take valuations very seriously, because valuations are also a question of market sentiment. It's like, one of my favorite lines is, it's never as good as they say it is. It's never as bad as they say it is. The reality is somewhere in the middle. And the last few years, it's been great. But, as founders, one of the things that we've always kept true to ourselves, there are 4 of us at Shiprocket, and we always keep each other in check because, sometimes, like you say, it's easy to get swayed by the emotion, is that at the end of the day, we look at our business very, very rationally and say, one, are we creating value? Are we changing the way people behave? And I think a lot of the people on this panel today and a lot of the great startups of this country have actually changed the way people behave, right? Like, did you ever think someone could do a lipstick trial on video? I didn't even know you could do it today. I've just learned something new today.
I hope they're not making us do it here, right?
No. I'm not doing it here. But again, it's just something phenomenal I learned right now, and it's changing the way people behave. And the same way, when we at Shiprocket think of ourselves, it's changing the way people ship. It's access to people in tier 2, tier 3 countries to ship products within 1 or 2 days. And so creating value and capturing value, those are the 2 very important themes that we always as founders keep true, because there's no point creating value if you're never able to capture that value. Then that creation of value is just in your head. It's not real, because if someone's not willing to pay you for your hard work, then great, you've done something nice, but you'll never build a sound business out of it. And I think that's where it's very important to keep, true to business fundamentals. And valuations, like I said, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. Usually you'll get a fair market price for what your business is worth. And the way we keep ourselves true is not looking at the valuation, which is just a calculation. We look at our business metrics, we look at our customers, the value creation that we do. And what comes out as a result of it, 1 year is very different from the next year, and so on and so forth. So I think it's very important to be grounded in terms of value creation and value capturing. And I think that's the only two things we look at.
I'm tempted to ask you this, we have these 8 to 10 minute deliveries. I mean, since you are in that space, I just want to understand, is it value add? I mean, I did one, but it came after 45 minutes. Is it lasting? Is that disruption? I mean, do we call that disruption?
No, absolutely. I think it's disruption. Are we doing it right now? We're testing the waters. Let's be very clear, because when you give free delivery in 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 30 minutes, everyone wants it. Why wouldn't you want it? I think I've done 2 of those deliveries this morning for different things. But if you tell me that I have to pay 50 rupees each time for that 10-minute delivery, that is going to be the true test of whether you are creating value, is when you ask people to pay for it, whether they'll pay for it or not. I think quick commerce is changing the way India behaves, the way a lot of the great Indian startups have changed, whether it's online ordering, whether it's the taking cabs online. Quick commerce is here to stay. I think it's a slow process. It's right now everyone's excited. We all place 100 rupee orders and get them in 10 minutes and jump up with joy. But we place 3 orders. We should actually not be placing 3 orders. We probably can plan 3 hours ahead in our lives. We've been planning 3 weeks ahead in our lives 5 years ago, when products used to take 10 days to come. So I think it's an evolution. So is quick commerce a disruption, to answer your question? Absolutely. But I think this disruption too will evolve to be something that is more business fundamentally sound, right? Where it's not just burning money. And I think that's the journey that will happen. We are definitely testing the waters here because we believe it's true disruption. It's changing the way we behave as consumers. But for us, we're focusing more, for example, on same-day delivery, right? Is it more important? Like grocery, pharmacy, I can understand you want it in 10 minutes. But for e-commerce, which is what we specialize in, does it matter if you get a t-shirt in 3 hours versus 30 minutes? We believe 3 hours is good enough.
Unless somebody wants to eat it. I don't know. Gaurav, your observation of the industry valuation trap, how do you see that?
Yeah, no, I think I completely second Akshay's sentiments on this. The mantra that we followed at Pixis was that the pursuit should always be in value creation, and the valuations will get ensued as a result of it. You continue to work, you continue to strive, and valuations will just happen by itself. I think the idea, just like obviously our domain being slightly different from Akshay, has been, can we challenge ourselves to new benchmarks? Can we stop saying that this is kind of what the status quo has always been? Can we push the envelope to a level where you start having you start doing disruptive things in a positive way that's favorable to the industry, and then in the process people will start recognizing your work, people will start acknowledging your product, and at some point the whole valuation, and I know it's very tempting because we all tend to get engaged in that conversation from time to time. We started Pixis just an incident note, at the peak of COVID in 2020, and I can tell you it was not the best time to sort of start scaling your things up, especially when you're working in the advertising industry, because people are really not going to spend at that point. But we believed in the product. We continued to engage with the clients. Even then, we were making traction in verticals which typically nobody would have guessed, would actually spend. And that's kind of like almost like just like a reflection that if you are sort of you have that fire in your belly and you're trying to sort of do something with the product and get to places, these things like valuation and wanting to just kind of just put yourself out there in the media with that particular badge is probably not going to help you in the long term. What's going to help is, have you been consistently striving towards creating that making that value creation happen? I think that's basically what our observation has been. And of course, we have seen people who have not focused on that in the long run. You have to almost have like this stoic attitude toward it. Let the ebbs and flows kind of happen, but you continue to do what you're doing. Don't get too excited when things are going your way, and don't get too discouraged if it's just one of those macro events that you can't really do anything about. So at Pixis, we've been pretty much doing exactly what we started with back in 2019.
I want to make it really participative, and I want one of you to ask a question later on, but I want to go to Akhil at this moment and ask him that, did you ever get swayed by the success? How did you really hold yourself? What is the best way not to do it?
I think it's the level at which you mark yourself that you are successful. We at No Broker, we don't think we are successful. We have made a disruption, but still, when you see the percent of the market what we have captured, that is very small. There's a big way. There's a long road which we need to travel. So it's all about the goals what you set for yourself, and if you keep the goals shorter, you will be happier sooner. So our goals have not met yet. It's a long journey, and it's just 8 years since we have started. Only in the 6 cities where we are. We tend to go to 50 cities in India and maybe sometime global, because this problem exists across the globe. So for me, we have not hit the success. Hence, there's no celebration. It's just heads down and execute. And just to add on the valuation bit, what you were discussing, valuation is just one, I'll say, pit stop where you stop, you get energized, your team feels good about it. You can basically, it's like refueling, getting the nitro so that you can start the journey, the next leg of your journey. That's the only value what valuation adds. Real value exists when you are helping your customers in whatever you are doing with your business. For us, it's getting houses. For people, it's selling lipsticks or getting it done. The lipstick shows online. For Shiprocket, getting delivery done in 30 minutes, and Pixis automating the advertisement without putting the manual thing. So it's all about the customer in the end. If your customer is happy, and for me, if my customer is happy and they can say 10 good things about No Broker, then getting $1 billion valuation, I'll be happy with the first one.
Great. Suyash, how is Purple steering clear of this?
Right. So, I have a slightly different opinion than everybody else. Well, not very different, but a slightly different, right? I do believe that, whenever we embark on the entrepreneurial journey, there is obviously an ambition that you go in with. And part of that ambition, of course, is creating customer value and causing disruptions. But part of that value is also wealth creation, right? And as promoters and founders, when you take on that investment from an investor, you have a certain responsibility to give that investor a certain ARR, right? A certain return on the investment that they have made, right? And from that perspective, I would say valuations are important, but point in time valuations around random markers, like being a unicorn or being $100 million, those are not important. We believe in the power of compounding, right? 30% CAGR over 15 years is a 50x return in 15 years, right? So we believe in the power of compounding. We do not believe in anything which is short run. Of course, I am in it for wealth creation. And of course, my investors believe in us because they believe that we will create wealth for them. But the way to do it is by making sure that you're taking all the right steps in the long run so that you're able to definitely make it in 10 or 15 years. Right. And that is one journey that we have taken. And when you think of it like that, then you also choose partners and investors who also are in it for the long run. Right. And I think we have been very fortunate from that perspective in this regard. So that is, my 2 cents on it and how we think about valuation. Of course, the day-to-day rigor is about the business metrics. But yes, on back of the mind, wealth creation is important both for individual and for the investors as well.
Great. So we have some 6 minutes left. So maybe one and a half minute quickly. Akshay, to all our listeners watching us online and present here, what's your advice on how to break this mold and create some really transformative disruptions?
No, absolutely. I think my biggest advice is just a lesson that I've learned, right, throughout the last 6 years of being an entrepreneur in India, is that, change trends, change the way people behave. Try to do some, when we think about disruption, it doesn't always have to be revolutionary. Disruption can also be evolutionary. And I think there are too many people who try to do something revolutionary and then fall flat on their face because they bite off more than they can chew. So today, 6 years ago, Shiprocket, I was much younger than I am, didn't have white hair, and I wanted to create a revolution. Today, I think my philosophy of disruption is more about evolutionary disruption, because it's about making things better one step at a time. And I think we as founders can all learn that, sometimes you don't have to change the world. Sometimes you can just change one part of the world, and that's good enough. And that has a snowball effect, a ripple effect. That's exactly the right word. And I think that's been my biggest learning, because sometimes trying to do too much, you can fail.
Great. I like that line you used. Yeah. Gaurav.
Yeah, well, I personally think that considering the panel, the esteemed panel we have, I think I'm in no way, I could say, and obviously I don't have the white hair. I know Akshay's gone through way more grind than I have. But what I can say is from our observations being in this ecosystem has been that one of the things that you should always do, and this is something that we've tried to follow at Pixis, has been that you need to consistently have this pursuit of striving for excellence, and you need to not get dejected by lots of these setbacks that are bound to happen inevitably in the industry. And and if you can learn this at a younger age, I think it'll probably serve you very well in the long run, because regardless of what domain you might be, this is one thing that will absolutely be required when you're trying to disrupt something or trying to do something that's, let's just say it's just pioneering in its form and has never been done before. So that's probably the only 2 cents I have on that.
Akhil, your 2 bits on, creating that transformative disruption.
Yeah, I'll say that you should pick the problem, and India has a lot of problems, correct? So there is no need to identify a kind of a problem which don't even exist. Just pick the problem which we face in day-to-day life. Try to solve that particular thing. Good things take time. So keep aside the things which have happened in the last 2 years. I think that was an exception. I've seen it closely since 2013, almost 8.5 years. Good things take time. Biryani banne mein bhi time lagta hai. Fast food, we know what is the implication of the fast food. It will taste good, but it's not healthy. Be patient, be perseverance, show some perseverance, and just solve for the customer what exactly customer needs. And if you're solving for the customer, then success will automatically come and touch your feet rather than you running behind the success. That's the only thing. Thank you.
Great. Suyash, final comment?
Sure. So I think it is very important to constantly be in touch with all the technology disruptions which are happening, right? The access of data became, very cheap for people. AI and ML are constantly evolving, and to the point that they have almost become commodities now, right? So it is important to always have an outside-in perspective of what the scenario is like, right? Because it is very important to always question the norm, and hence getting an outside-in perspective, always being on top of the things which are happening is super important for you to break the mold. Apart from the things that we already spoke about, which is having that mindset and constantly work, having the grit to persevere it. And I completely 100% agree with Akhil that good things take time, but you should have the grit. If you have the belief, you should have the grit to follow through on it as well.
All right. Thank you, Akshay, Akhil, Suyash, and Gaurav for sharing your thoughts and joining us today.